And just like that, we got, for the most part, what seems to be confirmation as to who is the identity of E.N.D. Now, I definitely got to say, first of all, that with this week's chapter, we got quite a few different things from it. We learned a few different things. We got some progression. And ultimately, we got the end of a fight. Another fight with a Tartarus member, the Juvia versus Keith fight. Now, regarding this fight, I definitely got to say that I felt it should have been a little bit longer. And one of the things that stopped me from saying, like, man, this was a great, 9 out of 10 type of chapter was definitely when Juvia started force-feeding the feeling speech. It was like, oh my gosh, here we go. We got to hear about how feelings overcome everything. That was one of the things about this chapter that was kind of like, it went from, man, this was a great chapter to, it was pretty good. It was, pretty good chapter, because the feeling stuff is like, I like it when I just feel the stuff. I don't like it when you give me the feelings overcome it all. We are feelings, love. Love is feelings. It's like, when it gets to that point, I'm just kind of like, you're telling me what I'm supposed to be feeling right now. No, I should just feel this. I shouldn't have to hear that, because then I feel like I'm watching Nick Jr. or something. And that's not to say that this fight was Nick Jr., but hearing, the feeling speech is what kind of threw me off with this week's chapter, because ultimately, it was pretty damn good. We got the end of the Juvia versus Keith fight. Juvia smashed that dude in, and to be honest with you, Keith, his powers is good in a sense that, he could resurrect the dead, but as a whole, he wasn't really a worthy adversary. It almost seems as though Juvia could have stomped him in at any time, but she was stopping herself because she didn't want to kill Silver, basically. So, in that sense, I'm kind of looking at Keith like, yeah, like, Juvia had you pretty much at any time, bro. You weren't really much. And for the most part, it seems like the whole thing with Keith, his characterization, is that basically he wanted to experiment on humans and kind of figure out, using his puppet tricks, how he could extend it and how he could keep on going. And we find out as well that the entire time they knew about Silva, so Silva wasn't on the sly as he thought. Pretty much they all knew about him and what he was doing, but they were allowing it to go on because they wanted to see how far he could go. And it was kind of like, I guess, testing for bringing back the dead and how long they could stay with these puppets. And what the fuck was up with some of them scenes with the skeletons? It looked like a skeleton bent Lucy over and was ass raping her like if they were in a prison or some shit. Every now and then it seems as though Mashima takes some Viagra and just like goes crazy with the ecchi parts. And I mean, Keith got destroyed by Juvia again. It was like she went into his body as water and poof, he's fucking dead. So in a sense, it's good. We did get a death and ultimately we got progression out of that. But at the same time, it was kind of like the way it was done. It was like, first of all, Keith went down a little bit too quick, and Juvia's speech about feelings was just kind of like, ugh. And also, I felt like Silver should have spent a little bit more time with his son. Like, yo, dog, you about to pass away. How about you spend these last few minutes with your son and not talking to the girl that is trying to get with him? Although I felt as though this chapter as well confirmed something that was even not that big of a deal, and that's Gray X Juvia. Like, at this point, if they don't get together by the end of this and Mashima doesn't confirm it, then that's BS, because this chapter, his father basically says, it's up to you now. I leave my son with you. So Juvia X Gray is kind of like confirmation. If we don't get full-on confirmation with Gray, like, full-on going in, then what the fuck? And if I'm not mistaken, it said Face has been stopped. So did Wendy do it? Did she get all the guilds and everything? Or was Silver speaking too soon? I'm curious what he meant by that Face is already stopped. So did off screen, did we get Face being stopped by Wendy and all the guilds? That was something a little bit weird. Like, we definitely needed to see that actually happen, I felt. But two of the biggest things that this chapter brought, I felt, besides the progression with the fight and everything, was, first of all, we find out that E.N.D is a flame demon. And we've been predicting this for a while, a lot of people, what E.N.D stands for. And it's E, it could be the end of, it could be evil, something along the lines of that, but definitely the ND sounds like Natsu Dragneel. So the fact that he's a flame demon, it pretty much almost confirms it, that this is some sort of Natsu, whether it be an evil Natsu, whether it be a Natsu from a different timeline, whether it be that at some given point Natsu will be infected or something and he'll turn evil. But I'm pretty sure at this point that E.N.D is indeed Natsu, because even Silver was like, I've been preparing, and that's why I got Ice Slayer Devil Magic, so that way I can go against E.N.D. And I think with the end of this chapter, this is definitely going to start moving along from the Gray stuff and, all the Gray-centric parts of this arc to the Natsu stuff, because at the end of this one, when we get that Gray pretty much has Devil Slayer magic now. He has Ice Devil Slayer magic. So first of all, that's going to give him a power-up, so now he's kind of on the same level for the most part with Erza and Natsu, because Gray's been left behind. Let's keep it real. For the most part, it's like been Natsu, Erza, Loxus, they've been up here, and kind of Gray just kind of pushed to the back burner for a long time as far as the power goes. But with this now, Now he can fight with the big boys. Let's just hope that Natsu doesn't defeat E.N.D and get that Flame Slayer, Devil Slayer magic or whatever, because then that's going to put Gray back, you know, at square one. Ultimately, I feel like this chapter was a very good chapter. I would have liked to say it was a 9 or a 10, but the fight definitely felt a little bit too quick with Juvia versus Keith, and Keith kind of went down pretty easy, and the speech with the feelings is what just kind of turned me off completely. It was like, why did you... you should have just called him a bitch and called it a day. But still a very good chapter. I mean, it brought quite a few different things. It kind of hinted at a few different things. And ultimately, I felt like it gave good character development for Juvia as well as Gray, and kind of pushed forward their bond as well. So it did quite a few different things. I mean, it even gave Gray a big power-up, and in a good way as well. Like, what better than his father to leave him this magic that could help him defeat one of the ultimate villains that they've ever fought. But let me know what you think. First of all, do you think that this whole thing with E.N.D confirms that he is indeed Natsu or some form of Natsu? Also, at this point, do you think that Gray is pretty much on par with Natsu and Erza now that he has this power up? And does this confirm Gray X Juvia? And just your overall thoughts of the chapter. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.